April 27th, 2022. I guess start off with a roll call for quorum.
Sure. Jim Barr,
Present.
Eric Nealand,
Yep, here.
Mark Sprague,
Here.
and I was going to say Bob Romer, but I guess it's a little too early. Do that next time.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Actually, it won't be next time. It'll be the time after.
Oh, right.
Okay. So first up on the agenda is, review correspondence and the planners report.
Sure. So a few items of correspondence were in the packets this week. Some concerns from Moderator Way residents about the lack of activity up there. Also heard from someone regarding the sign bylaw. So I'll be speaking with him tomorrow. This is just a resident who's interested in seeing if the planning board is interested in amending the sign bylaw, which I know was on our on the annual work plan, though I don't know if it's necessarily one of the priority zoning amendments for this year, but it'll be interesting to see what he has to say regardless. And then also, I think I shared this year's HUD income limits for affordable housing. So I'm just going to try to pull this up. I think it was, so this is essentially the 100% of area median income for a family of four. So the number went up about $10,000. So now the base income number is $135,000. So when I see that, I just think it's really expensive to live in this state and probably not doing enough for folks who are at the very low end of that income. So, that's 100%. Typically, affordable housing is 80% of that, or 60% of that. So I don't know, it's impetus to get some more affordable housing. If we're looking at $135,000 a year as your income.
Well, it's worth it. Worse in Foxborough, Hudson, Littleton, Stowe, which are all at 140,000.
Yeah.
So they all went up almost 20,000. So
yeah, I think there's this real feeling that affordable housing is reserved for people who are truly not making much money at all. And unfortunately, there's so many people are in need of housing that there's just, that you pull a ton of people with that kind of income limit. So just got to get more units. I also wanted to just put a plug in, switching gears now, for our the business district assessment and market analysis. The survey is now live for residents and employees in Bolton to take. So I'll just drop this in the chat. So everyone, please take the survey. Tell us what you think of in terms of where economic development should be located in town, or what kinds of shops you go to, what kinds of businesses you want to see. So, so this is the link there for that. And then along with the lines of the master plan work, we're considering another extension of the request for proposals. The initial due date was this Monday, last Monday, and we did not receive any responses. So we extended it another week to May 2nd. And now we've heard from two different groups that they're unable to provide responses. So I'm thinking about extending that another few weeks and reaching out to the firms that I do know of, just to ask them what might have prevented them from providing a response, and if there's anything we can do to mitigate that in the meantime. So we really don't want to delay any further here. So I want to know what changes we might be able to make. And then the board issued a special permit for 357 Main Street, the old Skinner property. It's going to now be environmental pools. I know that I've gotten a few questions about, what's going on that property. It's been almost a year since we've issued the permit. So they're now, they've been issued a demolition permit for the interior of the building. And likely midsummer, they'll be doing more in terms of site improvements and site work there. So they had a little pause and now they're about to get going.
Okay.
And then lastly, as you may be aware, there's the Making the Connections grant that the planning department is also working with. And this is a small grant. It's a $4,000 grant that we're using to start a pilot program with the Clinton Livery Service to kind of offset rides for seniors from what they're now using of the MART buses. So the COA is kindly coordinating to get seniors to use that service. But we haven't had a lot of ridership, so we're working on some methods of branding and marketing that program a little better. And we've received a grant extension, so we now have through the end of this year to use the rest of those funds. So we have a little more time. I'm just hoping that we get a lot of ridership so that we can think about other types of grants to use to continue providing that service in the future. And that's all I have this week.
Okay. Okay, so the next on the agenda is approval of the minutes for March 23rd and April 13th.
Mark, I have a quick question. Is the link that you just shared with us, is that on the website or?
Yes, it is as well. Is this link not working? Maybe it's not. Yes, it's on the website. I've got a bit of a public outreach strategy. So it's on our website. It's on a few different Facebook pages. I'll also be putting physical flyers in a few different businesses in town. I'll be attending the COA's health fair in a few weeks as well. And we'll be passing out some flyers at town meeting. So if there's other ways of getting the word out there, definitely let me know. I believe Bolton Access is also using a flyer as kind of an ad and during some of their regular programming as well. So if there's any other groups you know of that could be helpful getting the word out, definitely let all your neighbors know.
Thank you.
It looks like we just lost our quorum.
We'll just wait a minute. I guess wait a minute for Eric to probably just driving through a dead spot or something.
Yeah. Yeah, good
So,
call. I was thinking there's no storm out right now, but
yeah.
I was driving.
So I took a look at the if you take the HUD limits, 135, and you say if you work 52 weeks, 40 hours a week, that works out to need to be making about $65 an hour to meet that limit, meet that number.
As one person.
Well, or, I mean,
Yeah.
or the couple, but that 4-person family has to have an hourly income of $65 an hour.
Yeah.
Just to put it into perspective.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Looks like Eric decided to rejoin the living here. Okay, so we had minutes for March 23rd and April 13th. Has anybody had a chance to review those?
Yes.
Am I back?
You're back.
Yes.
Yeah, I looked at them. They're good.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't notice anything of anything of interest there. Anything needs correction. Okay, I get a motion on them then.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. 2 minutes. I don't remember the dates, but
March 23rd and April 13th.
March 23rd and April 13th.
Second.
And those in favor, Eric Neeland,
Aye.
Jim Barr,
Aye.
and Mark Sprague.
Right?
All right, thank you.
Next up is a discussion on the special permit for 5 Harvard Road for current and proposed uses. So I don't think this isn't a hearing, so I don't have any legal stuff to read here. So
That's good.
okay, so we have an existing special permit to allow you to do some number of events between, I think it's April and October, with some stipulations on hours and some things like that. Are you looking to change that? Are you looking for clarification? Are you some of both?
Yes. So,
Okay.
do you mind if I read?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Also, you may know this. If I start to cry, it's just because it's important to me, not because I'm upset.
Okay. We'll try to go easy on you.
It's a superpower, so that's all I can do about it. Okay, so to begin, I want to acknowledge a few things. When I originally applied for the barn permit, I also had my separate wedding business that I had for 30 years. But during the pandemic, I decided to focus on experiences at the Phineas Wright House exclusively, and I no longer plan and produce weddings and events offsite. So now that my efforts are focused solely in Bolton and I'm an idea factory, I know that I need to expand the scope of the original permit. I also want to acknowledge, though, that in researching existing bylaws, primarily the right to farm section, that I misinterpreted a right to do something as permission to do something. And I just wanted to apologize for not making that distinction. It was not purposeful. Okay, so I know that the original idea of me being on this call was to see if we needed to, in fact, reopen the original permit and or if we just needed to alter it a bit. I feel like we're in a reopen / reapply, expand, all good things. So since I already have that realization, are you interested in hearing what I'm proposing, or is this the time where you just say, Valerie will send me what I need, and then I happily jump through those hoops? What would you like to know?
I guess if you could just give us a quick summary, just so we know what's coming up, and then
I can.
Yeah, and then we'll
They're
go from
all
there.
easy yeses for you, so don't worry. According to the agricultural preservation law, that under the right to farm, it reads conducting agricultural related educational and farm-based recreational activities, including agritourism, provided that the activities are related to marketing the agricultural output or services of the farm. I read that to be a celebration of the bounty and goodness of 5 Harvard Road. And so I desire to have an agritourism business that incorporates the bed and breakfast allowance that was recently passed at town meeting, that plus the barn permit allowances, plus the right to farm bylaw, and how those can all work together. So the experiences that I offer will be intimate, interactive, immersive experiences that, again, are celebrating the bounty of this space. And so in line with the original barn permit, as far as guest count being never more than 49, and the end times, like there's a noise, I believe, sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it's music has to end at 9 and people have to leave at 10 or something like that. I'm totally down with those things. I would like to, of course, expand beyond the parameters of those months that the barn would have been operational, with incorporating the bed and breakfast piece, so that so that wouldn't be just from April to November. So I envision that the vast majority of these experiences would actually be less than 10 people, in most cases, less than 5 people. So again, instead of limiting the number of experiences and the time of year, I would appreciate if the parameters were just the number of people and the number of cars and all of those things that were already in place in that original permit. I can give you an example of some of the experiences that I'm thinking of, but in spirit, they are collaborations with other local vendors and small businesses in Bolton and in the surrounding towns. For example, a field dinner with Kith and Kin restaurant in Hudson. So, again, all of the main things of how I can't use my kitchen and all of those things totally still in place. It's just really an expansion to the number and the times and the addition of whatever I need to do for the bed and breakfast piece. Let's see.
On the bed and breakfast part, like how many rooms is the bed and breakfast? Just, I think the line is 4.
Yeah, this is 3 would be the max, unless I guess 4 would be the max if there was like an entire house situation, but that's not what I also am not envisioning like a regular bed and breakfast where anyone can just say, oh, I'm coming on Tuesday and here's it's curated weekend experiences that I'm facilitating. So I'm not running a hotel. It's a girls' weekend, and I know them and they know me, and I'm curating a weekend experience for them. So it's an elevated bed and breakfast experience that's also really curated.
Okay.
I have super big plans beyond that, if I might share, just to know, because if you think that this is a no, then that's very
I don't think it's no. I was just wondering, there is as part of the bed and breakfast bylaw, there was like a special permit that came with that.
yes.
So that's why I was just asking.
Yes. So I would definitely do all the things for that. And I understand that with a bed and breakfast, obviously there's like, I can make food for those people, but I know that I can't make food for the people that are doing other like, I know all that. However, there are some grants available for historic barn restoration, and I am in the process of researching those and a part of my personal master plan, if you'll have it, is when that is rebuilt to include kitchen space and a bathroom space, and that of course with the all the things that you have to have for the Board of Health to say that's okay. But then I would love to use that commercial kitchen space as something that's available for other small businesses in Bolton that are not able to use their home kitchens because of the current laws with the Board of Health. So I would love to be a part of that solution. And I just think these are really good, beautiful things for our community, for people that are in our community, but also ways to introduce people from outside of Bolton to this bucolic charm that makes my heart swell every time I pull in the driveway. Too much goodness for one person. I got to share it. Unless you tell me no, and then I'm going to share it somewhere else. But I'd really like to stay.
I think I just had one question that's really more, I think more for the board, because it sounds like Wendy has a good solution for what to do with an expansion of use. But because I wasn't around at the time the barn bylaw was created, I'm wondering if the board agrees that the barn bylaw is not intended to be inclusive of all activities on site, or if it's just intended to permit activities within a barn, or if it really is supposed to describe everything that a homeowner could do as a home occupation. Because that was kind of one of my questions about Wendy's case in particular, thinking, I've if there are events or things going on outside of the barn that just a regular homeowner would be allowed to do typically as a home-based occupation, is that because it's outside, is that still in the spirit of our existing bylaws and the barn bylaw? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So in the special permit, we talk about the criteria for the special permit.
Mm-hmm.
And part of what it lists for the barn, stable, carriage house preservation is the permitted use shall be used only inside the principal dwelling or the barn, stable, or carriage house. So, so that kind of, so like for, if I take, if you take like a wedding, I think the intention is that the primary, the reception, the dance floor, all that stuff would be in the barn. I mean, if people incidentally go out and walk the grounds, or, some little kids are running around burning off energy or something outside the barn, I don't think that's an issue. I'm not sure, if it's an activity that's solely outside of the barn. And I'll just pick on, I mean, a kid's birthday party where, you set up a bouncy house and you have, and they're all, primarily
You've not
outside.
met me, so
No,
that's okay.
I'm just, but I'm just, picking on something, I mean, if you're kind of renting out your property for a birthday party, that's kind of, outside of the barn, I'm not sure whether that would be covered by the,
Right.
Right.
But if you were, let's say you were, you also had a business certificate to do tutoring, and you had kids over outside and you were tutoring them. I would, my read on the barn bylaw is that it would not dictate the ability to teach children outside, for example.
True. I mean, I don't know if if you have a tutoring license, I don't know if there's any criteria and any restrictions that are put on that. Or it's just, you're allowed to tutor, kind of,
Yeah.
I feel like this would be a melding of whatever permits I need to do to have a business that doesn't say, oh, you may look at my grass from inside the house or inside the barn, but you may not. Like, that's ridiculous. So if I need 52 permits to do this inclusive thing, then I'm totally down with applying for 52 permits. I would love to know, in all honesty, I would love your opinion. Do I need to hire a lawyer or a lobbyist to move me through all of this, so that if there are things that you say yes to, but then another board says no, and I have to do 37 more permit? I think at that point, 93 permits would be a little excessive, but I mean, I just don't want to say, oh, you can do this, this, and this, but not this. And I live here. So a few of you have been to my property. I need you, please, to tell me, what do I need to do so that when Bolton sees me coming, yes is the word that falls out of their mouth. That's what I want to do.
What's your
my thought is, most of what she's talking about is like agribusiness type stuff, like akin to like apple picking, so like for instance, like the Neatsowitz farm, they don't have any special permits. They're just like a farm that you go pick apples at. I know she does like flower picking things and different stuff like that. So most of the stuff I'm hearing probably falls in a bucket that we allow in town, whether it's agribusiness type stuff or it's part of her barn bylaw or a bed and breakfast. I'm not really hearing anything that isn't allowed. It's not like she's trying to put a strip mall on her property or anything,
Right.
So
Yeah. No, I think we'll need to kind of tweak the special permit some to make some adjustments there. We can't, obviously we can't talk for other boards, so the Board of Health could come back and say, the planning board, you made you jump through 2 hoops, but we've got 126 you need to go through to have a, effectively commercial kitchen there.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that may depend on, it may be, very different if the kitchen is, really for a caterer to heat up food, and serve from, as opposed to cooking from scratch.
Right. I see like more of the issue with the Board of Health, with like the public water supply, that sort of scenario.
Yeah, water supply and the septic. Like the subway in the country cupboard. The way that was permitted was all of their food comes in all pre-cut, all pre-packaged. So they're basically just opening bags of stuff and using it, and then they just have to, they wash out the bins, so they're not really preparing anything. So they don't need a lot of the, they don't have the water usage that, a normal restaurant would if they were having to clean all the produce and clean all, and all that sort of thing. So that was how they got permitted. And I can see, so if if your kitchen was, we've got a commercial cooler to keep stuff, and we've got, commercial ovens so that, the caterers can heat stuff up and keep it cold, and, whatever is needed. That may be and then just some incidental cleanup at the end of the day. That may be very different for the Board of Health than saying, expecting, okay, we're going to be cooking meat, so we've got to deal with all the fat from that, and we're going to be dealing with, all the other raw ingredients and having to clean a lot of extra, all of those, pots and pans and everything, which may put a much bigger load on the septic. May require, a grease tray, grease tap, all that stuff that, and require additional, I know restaurants have to have routine inspections, and my guess is that that would be required as well. So, there may be some very different levels of things depending, that the Board of Health may require there.
Certainly.
So, I mean, what I would suggest is that maybe you just submit a list of what you plan on doing. And like I said, we could just put it in whatever bucket we can figure it out. And then maybe highlight the areas where we think maybe you would have to talk to probably Board of Health. I can't imagine another board, being involved, but, I mean, that's probably, and I'm not hearing anything that we wouldn't allow planning board wise, so. I mean,
And then regarding signage, I know you guys are talking about that, then I need to apply for that too, because I need.
yeah, that's through the selectmen.
That's the selectman, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Barr, I'm eager to hear what you have to say.
Thank you. So, so would it be possible to have, or in your plan, to have some sort of agricultural, like a seed starting course, or?
Yes.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
we grow cut flowers, and I do floral design workshops out of the flowers. So everything is from the property. So yes, that is the motivation and inspiration for everything that I do. So yes.
Because
adding flower arranging to your list of hobbies, Jim.
Already there. Already there. No, it's something that there's a lot of. I'm gonna go down a wormhole for a minute, a rabbit hole, if you will. There's a lot of things that are different with agricultural now. With no-till gardening and stuff, and I'm just wondering if Wendy's area could be a catalyst to this. This might be something good for the community in general. And I agree with it 110%. And I just want to know, what is your bigger plan? What do you want to do with the property?
Oh, that was my big plan, is to have the barn restored and have commercial kitchen space that provided people that are having trouble a solution so that they can have their dreams realized as well. I don't ever want anyone who doesn't want to be here, first of all. I don't ever want any experience that has over 49 people. That's just not, I want to curate beautiful experiences that celebrate this beautiful space. And I have a dreamy barn life, and I want to share that. I do some things virtually as well that don't require the planning board, of course. I don't think, tell me if they do. I do some cooking classes and such virtually. I have a membership, and I give those videos to Bolton Access Television as well, so that they have some content that they can fill for anyone that doesn't just want to watch these riveting meetings. They can get a little glimpse of what's going on over here as well. But I am also eager to collaborate and hear what things the town wants, and what things that, it's just a beautiful space. And if someone needs a raised bed, they want to try growing something, then they can grow it here. They can, I just think there's endless possibilities that celebrate the bounty of this place.
Because one of the things that I have witnessed, and I've done it myself, where someone moves into an area, they cut down the trees, they kill all the native plants and the native species, native flowers, and they wipe out. There's a lot more to it than if you can educate the population.
Mhm.
I think it's really turned my head around in the past. I don't know. I'd have to say 5 years about living here and with the swamp, swamp grass and jacking the pulpits and kind of nerding out a little bit. But if people can just, if you have that ability to educate,
Mhm.
I am totally on board with all this. So, and when it comes, people are looking into sausage making. All right,
Mhm.
myself included.
Yes,
Where-
I've done it.
Where they have if they have the ability to utilize a kitchen or rent out the space
Mhm.
and have everything there, and to Mark's point, where as long as sanitation is kept,
Mhm.
I don't see anything wrong with this. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, I think we need to kind of get get your expanded list of, and like Eric said, kind of, figure out where it fits in or what we need to tweak or, in the special permit, hold a hearing and, amend the special permit and, but I don't think there's anything that, that you've really said that, is a, sends up an immediate no or anything from me yet.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think, we just need to kind of get that list and update the special permit and, we'll figure it out from there.
For that list, are you looking for specific, like it is are you looking for educational, farm-based educational workshops that have a certain frequency to them, or are you just looking?
I would say like the type, like you said, bed and breakfast, like,
Yeah.
How many room bed and breakfast? And you said, your educational things. So
Right.
just, educational,
Sure.
with, so many people. I don't think we need to know very specifics, just the different types of things that you plan on doing. I actually had another question too. How many acres do you have there, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, it's public record.
Yeah.
Just under 5.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I mean, just we were, in town we have like the way that Jay's restaurant is on.
Oh, yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. Mhm.
Yeah, so the way that they can have the restaurant is because there's an agricultural, I forget the exact name of it, agricultural exemption or
Okay.
something where they can basically have a secondary business for a farm, so if you
Right.
kind of like call yourself a farm.
I do call myself a farm.
Yeah, but
I'm
right
a
now,
farmer.
I think right now you have to be 15 acres or more. We were
Okay.
talking about, or I brought it up, but we wanted to study it more, is lowering that to like, I suggested 5 acres,
Okay.
but maybe it's 4.5. I don't know.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can talk more about it too, Wendy, because it's in the state laws as well. So which I think is why our zoning bylaws the way it is, kind of trying to mimic that a bit. So if you qualify for the agricultural exemption, there are certain specific rules around how much money you can make
Okay.
as a percentage of sales from the agriculture component of the land. I think that's what's going on with some other sites in town as well. So I can definitely talk to you more about that. And our building inspector, of course, knows that law very well. So
yeah. So I didn't want to get into nitty gritty now, but I was
Yeah.
just bringing up it as maybe that's another avenue to do, even more type of things.
Thank you. Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Okay,
And I
great.
will see you again and often.
I'm sure. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay,
Sounds
thanks.
good. Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you.
Okay, next is to review the Tadmore common driveway as-built plan.
Yes.
So I know the plans in our packet. I don't know if we got any feedback from the review engineers yet.
No, and I thought that this was going to be a bit of a rush to get it in by today. I had just sent it to her last week, I believe. So I'll put it back on the agenda for May 11th. We'll see if we should get feedback by then.
Okay, good. Okay, the next thing is a review of draft marijuana establishment rules and regulations. I will admit I did not get a chance to read through all of them yet, all 19 pages and going. So I don't know if we want to, I don't know if anybody looked at those or if we want to table that until the next meeting as well.
Yeah, that's fair, Mark. So I think I just posted that probably at 5. So I did not think that any of you had gotten a chance to look through it.
Yeah.
But this was another item that I'd wanted to get done sooner rather than later, because we'll have the application from 58 Main Street coming in at some point. I don't know how close we might be to it. So I do want to try to have rules and regulations in place prior to that application, because otherwise what would happen is they would essentially be applying as a through the industrial special permit, which will give us a good idea of what they want to do for the site, but it doesn't require us to receive a lot of the materials that they would give to the Cannabis Control Commission. So a lot of what is in this draft is pulled from the industrial special permit rules and regulations, as well as subdivision rules and regs. And then I also took a look at a few other towns' marijuana rules and regulations, just to see what kinds of things they're asking, to look at, different fee structures, and to think a little bit more about what other community benefits we could get out of a special permit.
That was kind of my question, is seeing how I know this came up about, 3 or 4 years ago, where we were kind of reluctant on having either a cannabis farm or a cannabis store or whatever it was. But I'm wondering to see what I know the state tax is pretty extensive. How would it impact Bolton's? Like, what would we see for tax benefit, and or what kind of money do we know?
Yeah, so it's very dependent on what is negotiated in the host community agreement. And so that host community agreement is the applicant's first step, and that's through the select board. So this board won't be able to negotiate tax income from it, but for the one at 58 Main, we do know. Of course, I'm forgetting now what it is, but I think it's 2.5% gross sales tax. So the state limits it to 3% maximum, and from there, the town is able to negotiate both the tax and also a few other points, to allow this use in town. So I just made that note, though, that we should have, one thing I don't have in here is a copy of that host community agreement, because we will want to see that as well. So essentially, by the time an applicant applies to this board, that would already be figured out. But there are benefits, that we ask from other developers, like through the subdivision rules and regs, like, whether they're able to install a sidewalk along their frontage or provide a pedestrian access easement along their frontage, or donate a fee in lieu of a sidewalk construction. So I am wondering, if we do want to ask for that kind of benefit from this special permit as well. Is there any thoughts on that?
I don't know if things like that whether that gets sticky because the host agreement has already been negotiated. And I know the state early on in the medical licensing, there were towns that, would do their agreements, and part of the agreement would be, okay, yeah, but we need a new fire truck while we're at it here, sort of thing.
Right.
So I don't know whether, so I don't know whether that gets into that weird area where, it's like, okay, you've got the host agreement, but then we want a little bit more over here sort of mentality.
Okay.
So you probably need to check with Don and or council on something like that. Certainly that would be nice to have, and certainly if we have any more of these, it'd be, something like that might be something that, that Don might want to keep in mind, or the selectmen keep in mind when they're negotiating it. But we should check and see before we,
Yeah.
put in something like that, so I think,
Yeah.
Jim, back to your, I think where you were gonna, I want to say from the numbers I heard from Don, I think they're looking at somewhere, I want to say, Valerie, does it sound like, $750,000 a year from 58? Is it in that ballpark, I think?
I forget what, I don't want to guess it.
To the town?
To the town, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember what their estimate was of gross sales in their first year.
Yeah.
And I do remember, though, that they made the point, or a select board member made the point that the company may see a lot of profit in their first 3 to 5 years, and then as the market in Massachusetts, may plateau, it could decrease. So
yeah.
But it is, yes, Mark, it's definitely going to be a good boost for the town.
So would there be any type of percentage where, I'm going to open up a can of worms here, but if someone wanted to start growing in a right to farm,
marijuana isn't covered by right to farm.
Okay, all right, okay, that's my question.
I know that the MDR is looking at some ways of making cultivation of cannabis work for farmers. It is not clear to me if that's been passed yet. It seems like it would be an expansion of the APR program, or expansion of some other existing program. You'd have to have been farming the land already for a number of years and have your land within a program. So I do not believe the state is moving in the direction of allowing, fields of cannabis growing, which, I've heard arguments for and against, but I think that there's the way that the state kind of talked about it when they were creating the law was about not wanting you to be able to see a plant from the public way, wanting to make sure the odor isn't transferred over a property line. So, for now, at least, cultivation has to be secured in a greenhouse.
But there would be no percentage of like local, is what I'm saying. It's like there would be no percentage, like 10% of your cultivation would have to come from local farmers.
I don't think I quite understand the question. What could you rephrase that?
Like where would the marijuana come from?
So, you mean if it's a product manufacturer, where would it come from? Or if it's a cultivator, where would the seed come from?
So there's kind of three different categories of facilities. So there's a cultivation, grow facility, which is, seed to finished bud, finished flower. You've got manufacturers who are taking that and, extracting it to make edibles, to make, other things like that. And then you've got the dispensaries, which are taking the finished flower and the finished manufactured products and making those available to consumer. I believe 58 Main is just cultivation and manufacturing.
I think it's just product manufacturing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to be growing there, but okay, is it just manufacturing? Okay.
Maybe I could be wrong. I actually have not seen the host community agreement for them specifically.
Okay.
So,
but it will not be a dispensary. So they're not selling directly to to anybody out of that site.
but they could. I mean, they couldn't because of the way they entered into the host community agreement. But it is possible for someone to have multiple licenses on the same site, and
right.
often,
they'd have to come back for a new host agreement, a new go through whatever additional hoops the cannabis control, and then go through all the permitting to add a dispensary there. And the dispensary is what the part of it is what sunk a couple of other people who were, because of the residents on Bolton Woods Way didn't want a dispensary that close, and where the school bus stop is and that sort of thing. So if you think about some other commercial property in town, there's some storefront open next to Country Cupboard. So you could have a dispensary there, but I don't think there's nothing in the host agreement per se that says 10% of your product has to be manufactured in Bolton or grown in Bolton or anything like that.
yeah, it wouldn't quite work yet because there's not a cultivator in Bolton, and you can't. The state is pretty clear on who you're able to buy marijuana from.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't just be able to buy it from someone growing it in their backyard.
Well, yeah.
No,
I agree. I was just wondering if it was. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I'm trying to write these rules and regs, knowing it's true. Yeah. Knowing that there is this one establishment coming down the line, but also thinking about future applications and future retailers that may come through. So what I've provided at this point it's really the bulk of it. What I have left to do is kind of outline the public hearing process and the actions of the planning board, how you may vote, how that end of it works for the applicant. But what's within here right now is essentially what a complete application looks like, how you file it, and whether or not you might want to do a preliminary review with the board. So what I'll keep working on this. I have a list of things I need to add to it. So I want to add more in there about design review. I assume this is an application that the board might send over to the design review board. Particularly if it is in a business district and there's a retail operation, you want to make sure that it looks like it fits into the town architecturally. And then I do want to add in some language around the phasing of tree cutting and clearing, which is a good exercise for me as we kind of look at how we might change subdivision rules and regs later on, or if we're going to do a new bylaw around tree cutting. And then I'll also want to look a little bit further at parking requirements. our parking bylaw needs a lot of work. So I'm interested to see how, how many parking lots or parking stalls might be allowed by our current bylaw, and then look at other establishments in the region and see how many parking spots are really needed through those other examples.
I'm actually interested to know what you think would need to be changed on the parking bylaw, because we definitely went through it a few years and I think we made it much better than it was. I mean, we made it fairly dynamic, to kind of really specifically hone in on the use and how many spots you actually need.
I think we cut down on the minimum number of required spots, but I don't think it defines a maximum number. So,
and that's exactly what I want. Yeah.
But I don't think we have it in there. I don't think we have anything for, I expect, like, if you're a cultivation facility or manufacturing, I think those kind of fall under, general manufacturing sort of requirements. For dispensary, I'm not sure that falls under general retail, or if there's some other, or if we need to add another category there for, to define that.
Yeah, and you touched on exactly what I would want to change. So looking at parking maximums rather than minimums, and kind of taking, it does look rather specific right now. So I think going back to broader categories of uses, and adding, we don't have anything in there for multifamily developments or apartments. So our next agenda item, I'll show you what our parking bylaw provides for an apartment complex at 580 Main. So it's, it does feel like a bit of a sea of parking. And I think for one of these larger developments, it could be really interesting to have our zoning bylaw allow kind of phased parking. So, you have the developer install what they think is 50% of what they'll need. And then when they're around 50% occupancy, they could come back to the board, review what it looks like, see if they need more spots, see how their predictions kind of worked out. And then you can do another phase of expanding a parking lot a little bit more, seeing what might work. Because as we continue to work on developing other forms of transportation in town, I'm just more interested in getting people out of their cars. So I digress. Talk about that.
Yeah, so the intent was to minimize the parking, because previously it required a sea of parking essentially. So, I mean, the whole goal was to minimize it. So if you think we could do it better, then fine.
Yeah.
I mean, they always, I think you definitely made it a lot better. It's just, you always have to keep returning to zoning.
And we definitely didn't have, I don't believe we had like a 580 Main Street in mind. So
no. Well, yeah, I mean, how could you predict that?
Okay, so do you think you can get the rest of the proposal out by like middle of next week? So we have some time to review it before our next meeting, or with town meeting and Bob sucking up all of your time with master plan.
Oh, let me tell you, but what's actually sucking up my time is the zoning board. So I think I'm spending at least 75% of my time with them.
Okay.
Which is kind of a problem. So yeah, I think I can, middle of next week for getting out a good draft looks good. It's going to be a little bit drafty, but that sounds good. We can keep talking about it at the meeting of May 11th.
Yep.
And maybe at that point, we can have a little bit more of an in-depth discussion, so that potentially we could start scheduling a public hearing to approve.
Okay. I was just thinking, if we can get them out, if you can get them out, middle or end of next week, then we can have time to, hopefully everybody can review them and have kind of, have their comments, prepped and ready to go, so that, we can kind of walk through it and,
Yeah.
discuss it, in much more detail there.
Yep. That sounds good. Yeah. And then so we could potentially do a public hearing early June.
Yep.
And I don't know how soon this applicant may come forward. So June sounds good.
Cannabis control, I don't know how backed up they are on licenses and stuff at this point. So, it could be next week, it could be October, we just don't know, but okay. Anyway, so that now we'll just segue into discussion around the 580 Main Street comprehensive permit.
All right. So I, wanted to give the board the opportunity to, provide whatever comments you may have about that application to me, so I can take that back to the zoning board. It's certainly a large project and a lot of material to review. So I don't know how deep in you all were able to get. And I also, I don't know how much you all are familiar with it in general. So at this point, what do you think would be most helpful? Do you think, do you have specific questions about the application? Would it be useful if I pull up some site plans and kind of talk through it? Or, is there another way that we could do this?
Probably, I'd say probably. I mean, I read through the staff memo. Probably pulling up the plan quickly and just taking a quick peek at it, and then we can touch on parking and some other things that we're gonna want there.
Sure. It is a very large plan set, so my computer handles it quite slowly. Let me just share this. Okay, are you able to see? Kind of struggling along with me.
There we go.
Yeah, I see it now. Okay.
It's not very responsive right now, though. So I'm not sure how much of this sheet you can see, but this is, I'm trying to make it larger and it's not responding. So so it's 580 Main, it's right across from Bolton Capitol, and then right next to the Bolton Country Manor where the COA is. Yep. There is the existing office park. This is really not going to work. This square right here is what will remain of the office building. So there's another building about over here where my mouse is that will be demolished. And so this parcel will be divided into two to separate the residential use from the business use. So the residential use will have just over 32 acres, and then the business use will remain with just over 6 acres. And so what they're proposing here is 4 different residential buildings. You've got these 2 kind of U-shaped parcels in the center of the lot. And then they're joined by an outdoor courtyard. There's a 3rd building to the west, a 4th building just to the south. And then to the north, they have their clubhouse, a pool area, and a mail center right over here. So this is 229 units. The state does specify the number and the percentage of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms that you should have, and which of the number of those which should be affordable. So in the development, there are 58 affordable units, though the town we'll get all 229 units on the subsidized housing inventory, which is going to take us to probably about 13 or 14% on the subsidized housing inventory, which is great. It's that 10% number that's really important. So we'll be a few notches above that. Yep. There are about 394 bedrooms. So I don't know exactly what the population estimate is, but I think it's probably fair to say that there'll be at least 450 people living here. And the estimate for school children is about 40 to 50. The two buildings in the center, building 1 and building 2, will have an elevator to access the units on the 2nd and 3rd floors. These each are 3-story buildings. Building 3 and 4 don't have an elevator, though they are they have these entrances that are directly from the parking lot on either side. So there's actually 6 different entrances that you walk up shared stairwell to get to the other apartment. So it's building 3 and 4 aren't quite as open as buildings 1 and 2, but they're doing the most they can with the smaller buildings. So they have roughly just under 1 parking space per bedroom. So I think the parking ratio is 0.9, which is why you are getting just parking along all possible places on this site. So there are a lot of site constraints here. We have that wet area back here. You have Great Brook to the east. You have a zone 1 well radius to the east, which is going to take up a lot of the existing parking lot. So right now the parking lot kind of edges out, makes this into a square here. But because they're installing a zone 1 well, this will all have to be, the pavement will all have to come up, and they'll have to put down some meadow mix and seed mix in there. And then there's the other.
What parking bylaw hits this? That and what is the number requirement? So I just don't even remember what we did about housing units, if we did anything.
I think it says something like 1 per. It's just under. It's like 1 for every 2 bedrooms. But I think that might be a nursing home. Let me.
Yeah, I mean, my gut feeling would be that you want somewhere between 1 and 2 per master bedroom, and none for for the 2nd and 3rd bedrooms would probably be the number realistically. Most couples have both adults have a car, but if you've got kids there, you wouldn't. So I would think that would be, it's probably not the number that we want to hear, but that would be my gut feeling, just thinking about what you want there.
In this case, to me, it makes 0 sense to have the only like you're saying, the only kind of law we should have on parking is a maximum number. So maybe we say a maximum of 1 per bedroom or something. You can't have more than that. But then anything else, you figure out how many you need. It doesn't make sense at all for us to be putting some minimum number on this. Like, you figure out what you need, and if it's a disaster, well, I don't know, it's not our fault. You basically just put a maximum number. I kind of feel like that's what we should be.
Well, between this and Tadmore, this is going to create a chokehold on 117.
So it is interesting. They did a traffic study, and the traffic study was peer reviewed by someone the town we hired, and the town's peer reviewer confirmed the applicant's traffic study, basically saying that it really didn't seem like it was going to cause outsized delays on 117. The issue is going to be queuing on the property itself. So I think the worst of it is going to be borne by the residents of this development as they just wait in their own driveway to get out.
Yeah, it's gonna be another traffic light, guarantee it.
They're not able to do a light.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't warrant, the amount of traffic does not warrant a light, and the light would be quite close to another existing light.
Talking about putting 450 units.
229 units, yeah,
All right, so 450 families, whatever.
people, yeah.
Yeah, this is.
So we are trying to highlight this as a good walk to school project. There's the potential for a pedestrian path that would connect to the elementary schools. The applicant is also constructing a sidewalk from their driveway east to the field and Clinton Savings Bank. And then there's the existing sidewalk that heads west. We've asked them to install bicycle garages on site as well. So there's good secured, bicycle storage. So they have, for what it's worth, they have put together a traffic management program, which includes, materials, educational materials for the future residents. But yeah, there's no way of getting around the fact that to get around in Bolton, you do need a car right now. And, they're right off of 495. So I'm sure a lot of commuters are going to be looking right at this.
It's going to be good.
Yeah.
With
Good luck.
In light of the accident that was, although I guess it wasn't from people exiting and entering 626 Main, but there's a lot of accidents in that area coming on and off. Was there thought at all of saying coming out of the property, no left-hand turn, at least during rush hour? Like you can only go right, or?
I was going to ask a question that the fact that there was a accident at the town hall where the stone wall got plowed into.
But it's just like, it's dangerous. I mean, my just thought is the safety of the residents coming in and out of there, having to turn left across traffic. Was there any thought of just putting during whatever 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. whatever, right turn only? I mean,
no one reads signs.
So what are they going to do? Go down to?
I don't know. Well, I mean, it's just a tough. Without a light, it's going to be a dangerous left-hand turn coming out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've talked about
Valerie, is the traffic study available?
Yes. Yep. It's on under the Board of Appeals page. It's under current projects and then 580 Main. To your point, I think it would be, very interesting to do a traffic, corridor study of 117 and just learn more about what the level of service is at all of our intersections.
I can tell you.
I think what the traffic study says, and I remember we went through this when Clinton Savings Bank came in, is, we have 20,000 cars going down the road every day, and the amount of, ins and outs of the property only adds some percentage. So it's not going to make a difference to the traffic. But where I see there being an issue is the ingress and egress of the property, just the safety of the people, especially if there's no light, like yeah. I have to come anytime I come to town center, I have to come off Harvard Road, and take a left. And it's like, you take your life into your hands, so it just seems like it will be an accident prone area, if you don't have some type of plan to get people to turn west out of the property, whether it's either a light or just during rush hour, you don't do it. I don't know.
Well, I think Valerie's suggestion about a corridor study is very, very important.
Yeah, I know that our DPW director has even applied for a grant to try to get one. It was unfortunately not a successful grant request, but it's great to have that and to continue to request that in the future. So hopefully we will get that at some point. I know the applicant has also offered, once they are at 100% occupancy, to do a study of the intersection of Wattaquadock and Maine, which is interesting. I don't know. I know that intersection was just redone. It's far better than it was. But it could be helpful to have that kind of intersection study. I do hope that the ZBA also asks the developer to help out with a corridor study, though. So that's
But I think it would be great to put out an RFP for a corridor study and have somebody not only look at what the immediate development activities are, but in the longer range, what makes sense in terms of access and egress and timing and orientation of both of the above in a very, very carefully time-dependent traffic study. Looking at these activities individually, I think really doesn't give us a sense of what is going to happen in the near term and how, as a planning board, we need to think about going into the future.
Yeah, it's difficult with these, one-off developments.
Yeah.
You're
And they
talking
all
about-
have their individual motives. I can understand that, but I think we have ours too.
You're talking about a chokehold right there where their plan is.
Yeah.
Okay. And 117 and 495 is not designed to have it's going to create such a it's going to be worse, because right where they want to exit is right where everyone merges, and it's already a
Right. I mean, that's why I'm saying a left-hand turn there is going to be pretty insane, because just that merge, people don't know how to merge, just interleave. Come on. Why is like,
think like a
but,
zip.
but right. So on top of the zipper.
Yeah, no, it's
now you have a third stream coming in. Granted, and like I said, I think traffic studies typically just look at number of trips, but I think it's more of the safety of that, in and out, in the spot it's in. It's going to be really difficult without a light there.
Well, that's why I'd like to see the traffic study. I mean, your point is very well taken. Direction and timing are critically important.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we need to look at the traffic, review the study and see, because that'll list all of the assumptions that were made on it. So,
I mean, is there something with it? Because it seems like when the schools get out, Florence Sawyer and everything, that's what really messes up the traffic flow of 117.
Yeah, I know the ZBA had asked the applicant to consider opening up what they described as the peak hours to include school pickup and drop off. And I don't know that they did. So that's a good point.
And you can put up all the signs you want. People are not gonna, unless they're enforced. And Bolton PD does a fantastic job on 117 of keeping people slowed down, and I'm all for it. On other side roads, Sugar Road is going to be a bypass. It already is, and they fly down the street. And
what is, we're getting maybe off track, but what is the legality of those no directional turns at such a time? is that just like a suggestion, or is that something that could be enforced?
They're
It's
already
enforceable.
enforcing it, Eric. They already are. In terms of speed limits and everything else like that, Sugar Road is a bypass for when 117 is backed up. They all fly down here, and we've had accidents. You know, you're hitting deer now out of nowhere, and I understand about it's this town it's not designed to handle the traffic flow that they're having, and that's the problem.
No, we need a couple more lanes on 117.
No, we don't. This is a Weston.
Speed bumps is what you need, I think.
The speed bumps don't work. They with yeah. It's frustrating, everyone. It really is. It's something we're not going to win, and if we can just
get rid of the pesky asphalt and just go back to gravel.
So, but seriously, I think the game plan here really ought to be to do a corridor study and start getting serious about proactive management of traffic and development, and most importantly, access and egress on 117.
Yeah.
Because we're going to get hit with a whole bunch of these.
Yeah.
If Tadmore goes the way that they want it over at the high school, that's going to be oh God.
So when you say Tadmore, you're not talking about the development that's there. You're talking about
the mixed use.
The mixed use.
The mixed use. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
The mixed use area that's going to even create even more. And with this, putting 450 families.
429 families.
Well, so I mean,
hold on. Saying 250.
With the mixed use, though, James, I mean, that requires a bylaw change from us. So we have control over that now, if we don't want to do it, which, I mean, this is a different topic, not on the agenda, but I've been thinking about that more. So maybe we can.
Yeah. Let's not get sidetracked with that.
Yeah. So one more item on this, just to take it off of the thing. At one point, there was an issue with the height of the buildings and what the fire department can handle, and if there were going to be ladders on site, or if we needed a ladder truck in town. Like, where did we end up with that?
I believe that's been handled. I think that I forget whether it was, I think that the main issue with that was potentially with another, maybe it was this application, and it was going to be 4 stories and they brought it down to 3. At the same time, there was a comprehensive permit proposed on the Kane land, and I think that might have been the one that required an extra ladder truck. At this point, our fire department appeared to not have that concern. So,
are they equipped with what they need to rescue people?
Yeah, I believe they are. I think that at the last year's town meeting, wasn't there a purchase of another fire truck? I believe. I think too that there are a few things the applicant will need to do once they do get their permit through the ZBA. So once they are going through some of the state laws, they'll have to get their sprinkler system in. They'll have to do I'm forgetting the name of it, that's like a radio test to make sure that public safety radio can be picked up within the building, because it is a unique building to Bolton, and we want to make sure that we're able to get calls from anywhere in there. So it seemed as though at this point, public safety was satisfied, though there are other thresholds that they'll need to meet later on. And then Jim, just to clarify before, so it's 229 units, but it's about 394 bedrooms. So I was saying you could probably say that 450 individuals might live there.
Yeah.
That's
what I'm clarifying.
Okay.
That's
good.
fine. I get it. And there could be less, there could be more, plus or minus. whatever it is, but I'm just saying it's it's gonna be a traffic nightmare.
Valerie, what consideration for public water supply zones have been made? Do they live on their own land, or is there transgression into the Bolton municipal land to the east?
The zone ones are all, there's an asterisk here, but they are all within the 580 Main itself. Once they subdivide, there will be some, I believe there may be some trespass onto the office park side. I'll have to review that subdivision plan when it comes in though. So from the plans they're showing now, the whole radius is within their parcel.
What about
Okay.
zone 2?
So
And
Yeah,
the interim water.
the interim
protection area?
wellhead protection area, that's going to be huge. So
I think that's a very serious consideration, because that'll limit the uses on the adjacent and particularly municipal lands.
yeah,
What are the estimates of gallons per day?
I don't know that offhand. I mean, they're doing their own public water supply.
Well, right, but just, you know,
yeah.
what can the land handle, I guess, you know?
We won't know until they run test wells.
You would have thought that they'd have done that already.
I would have thought that they would do
I think,
drawdown.
no, I think they have. I just don't know the numbers off the top of my head.
But I think those are two very specific questions that need to be brought up. You know,
Yeah.
and to Eric's point, you know, what is the demand going to be full build out? What is zone 1? I think we know that. What is zone 2? And as you and I discussed, what are the implications of uses within those zones and what do they impact? The other question, of course, which I'm sure has been discussed, is wastewater.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on the plan. I mean, are they, presumably they're going to have a treatment plant on site?
Yes, they do.
And-
Their
and-
facilities, yeah.
Yeah, do you know where that, I didn't see anywhere on that parcel on the plan that showed that, but I can pull it up out of the out of our packet and take a look at it.
They do have a treatment facility toward 117.
Okay.
And then they have other, well, actually, that could be the office park one. They do have, they have another, no, it is there. Yep, it's on sheet 11. So it's essentially right around their it's north of the clubhouse and pool, and then north as well of the driveway that services the office park. And then they have more of their leaching field area to the west of the driveway.
Okay.
So their leaching field is there. The town's leaching field is behind the property. Where is their well? Like, where's left?
That was my question, Eric. Thank you.
Yeah, so let me pull up another plan here. Yeah.
I mean, as
Right.
you're pulling it up, I mean, just, you know, to think of this as if it was public water and sewer, you don't really have to think about it much, but with private water and sewer, I mean, I don't feel like you could just look at this property. I feel like you got to look at the area as a whole of what's being used, what's being expelled, you know, how
Yeah.
the whole flow of it, like, you know,
Yep.
coming in and going out and how it impacts the entire thing.
Well, I think, you know, that gets to the point that we can discuss later, but our approach to looking at this whole area in terms of wastewater, water, and how that all fits together and what the implications are to individual properties and, to your point, Eric, to the whole area as a whole.
So I just selected this one because I think my computer will appreciate a smaller file. So this is just an overlay of their site plan on top of what is existing. So unfortunately, I don't have the parcel layer turned on here, but the 580 main parcel extends down and kind of goes over this wet area and then joins up again over here. So they have two water supply or wells at this location. You can see these kind of concentric circles. And then they have their larger one over on the east side.
So that does encroach on other land?
This well radius itself does not, though I think it's the IWPA that does.
But I mean, there are obviously land use limitations under an IWPA radius as well.
Right. Yeah, so they're making full use of the site. So they have their water supplies over here, their septic and leach areas up here. And then they have the 4 buildings and all the parking.
So the septic for Bolton Manor then is right to the left of their septic, right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
And so has there been a perks, like, I mean, does that work with them two right next to each other? And then the septic for the towns is off page to the left, right?
Yeah, it is. It's over. Yeah, it's over here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the open area down in the bottom left corner, that I think that's the horse ring, and then the community garden, and then that you just see the little edge over on the left side, I think is the leach area for the schools.
Mhm.
Okay. So were these are all, I mean, the state's going to have to approve all the zone 1 areas and all of that. And it's going to be, 229 or 300 and some bedrooms. It's going to be, I think that falls under state permit as well. I mean, and I forget what the numbers, but there's the state does have numbers for how much discharge per acre you can have. So, this, kind of, even though like the Bolton Country Manor and their leach areas are close together, it's kind of, the state kind of spreads that out across the entire area. But I think, I want to say the office park leach area is up in that general area already. So I'm not sure that it's a significant difference from what was there before. On the walking path to the school, who's maintaining that and who's plowing it and all that sort of thing? Are they committing to do that? Are they expecting the town to? I mean, the walking path is worthless, half the school year if we have snow. So is there a plan to, keep that open if we're going to use that to reduce the bus traffic?
So I'll say that falls on a list that we have going of potential community benefits for this project. So the ZBA has requested the input from the select board on a few of those items to negotiate with the developer. So that will be discussed tomorrow night.
Okay.
And I'm hopeful that there'll be some good progress made, though that conversation may have to extend into May. So this project right now has, I believe, a deadline of it's sometime in May to close. I believe the zoning board will ask for at least a 1-month extension into June. But this is definitely, we're getting down to the final few weeks here before we before I draft a decision for it.
Okay.
So we will
Are they
see.
specifically looking for written concerns and questions from the planning board?
I have provided them with a list based on discussions I've had with town departments and boards. So it's confusing because it's not a list of site improvements, because that, of course, we're able to discuss that during the ZBA meetings, and our peer reviewers, the engineers and the traffic consultants have been excellent in requesting certain plan modifications. But what's on this list of kind of community benefits is something that is a little bit more organically come out of conversations with the community gardeners, with the Council on Aging, and with the Director of Public Works as well. So that list has been a little bit more internal.
So how's that list going to be aired?
I believe they've shown it at a previous select boards meeting. So it is public record now.
How, I mean, sorry, if you want to stop talking, that's fine, but in regards to the school, the elementary school, are they prepared for 40 or 50 new students within a year or two time frame? Have they been talked to, or?
So in my role, I have not spoken to them. Those through 40B, I am not able to bring forward a lot of information to the zoning board that may influence their decision based on community impact. So because the way the state law is written, it essentially says that because Bolton has not developed its fair share of housing, we need to work with this developer in order to create our fair share of housing. And so items like school population, we're really not able to consider.
Well, I mean, I was just saying, is there like a heads up, like, hey, just so you know.
I will also say, I think while it may be an estimate of 40 or 50 students, that is under the age of 18. So I'm not anticipating it would all go into one school or all go into one classroom. So it's just very difficult to say.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to have 40 or 50 kindergartners all of a sudden. It's going to be
right.
I mean, how it's kind of, how's that going to be scattered across, all 13 grades.
Yeah. Well, okay.
I mean, Alta has I mean, they've done similar developments like this other places. On the parking, have they, what have they had for parking, parking numbers, per unit in other places and that sort of thing?
So I can take a look at what they've done in other towns. I was a little hesitant to do that because the parking that they have is likely dependent on that town's bylaws. I don't have any reason to doubt this developer, but of course developers are looking to build what's in their best interest. So I don't know that I don't know if I would find out exactly the number of parking spots that are needed, if that makes sense. Maybe just the number that they built, which again could have been because a planner in another community pressed them to not have as many parking spots, or you know, because they're in a community that's much closer to a commuter rail or, you know, what have you.
I feel like in the parking bylaw, sorry, we're back full circle to this, but I feel like we kind of put in like some hooks where, like if there was a daytime business right next to a nighttime business, you could kind of share spots. I feel like there's some like play in it for the planning board. So I guess I just wonder how they came to the number of required spots. And if they feel like they need, say, 70% of that, like if we could somehow finagle the bylaw, you know, with some saying, well, you'll have some nighttime, you know, some people work at night, some people work during the day. So, you know, maybe you need less parking, you know? So how did they come to that number?
I think that'd be a hard sell, but
yeah, I think developers want to say that there's excessive parking and that parking will not be a concern for a resident. You know, they want to say there's unlimited visitor parking, there's unlimited parking for deliveries. So I don't personally trust a developer to provide me with
Okay, I mean,
accurate.
I kind of got the impression that,
Yeah.
you know, when you were saying, oh, we're lining parking everywhere possible, that even they thought it was excessive, but they,
Nope,
like you're saying,
they're happy.
oh, okay.
Yeah. So in our bylaw, it says for a bed and breakfast establishment or home, it's one parking space per room rented, or one space per owner. So that's what they're doing is essentially one parking space per room.
So 390 spots.
I think it's just under that. Yeah. I think it's about 370.
And I imagine there's some like community spots as well for guests and stuff. Or is that kind of factored in?
That was one of my last questions to them. So we'll see. We'll see what they do.
Didn't you say the ratio was 0.9?
Yeah, I think it's 0.9, but I don't know if they are going to amend the plan to designate some visitor parking spots, or what they may do there. So we've also asked for parking for the Council on Aging to use, because they currently require about 20 more spaces than is provided at the Bolton Country Manor for their programming. And they're currently just using unused parking space at 580 Main. So there's a serious concern that once this development is constructed, or even during construction, there would not be parking for the COA. So that is one of those requests that the select board will be reviewing tomorrow night.
does the existing, or does the remaining office building, just looking at the one of the plans here, does it have sufficient parking to meet our bylaw?
I don't know that. I don't know. I have not seen an application for a modification of their special permit.
Yeah, because I think they previously had that back lot, which is going to be gone now.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Even though they're taking down half the space, but they're getting rid of much more than half the parking. So, which may have been excessive anyway, but you know, looking at what's left, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot there now.
You know what? When we did the special permit for the assisted living, which kind of isn't happening, we kind of put a little provision in there where they were going to build out another row of parking for Bolton Manor. So nothing like that was done in this, I assume.
Which assisted living facility?
So before this came, we did a whole special permit for an assisted living facility behind the Bolton Manor, like so south of the Bolton Manor, and part of it, and part of like we put in the special permit that they would, if you know how the Bolton Country Manor, it kind of goes downhill, they were going to build it up and put like another row of parking. there would basically be another 20 spots, but you know, that was just that special permit. You know, I don't know. It sounds like nothing was put in for the Bolton Country Manor.
So was that on the Bolton Country Manor parcel, or was that on the 580 Main?
I forget exactly what we did.
I think it would have been on the well, what's now the 580 main parcel, when it was going to be assisted living, that we added, you know, they were going to designate some portion of parking for use by Bolton Country Manor.
You could go look at that, Valerie. I forget exactly how we worded it.
Yeah, I will look for that. That's great to know.
Yeah, because we would have been losing a bunch of parking in that proposal as well. But I don't think it was quite as area constrained as this is. I'm a little surprised that public safety people were okay with buildings 3 and 4 not having elevators. I would think if there's a medical emergency on an upper floor, they're not going to want to carry somebody down, you know, down from the 3rd floor. You know, try to maneuver a stretcher down, you know, 2 flights of stairs to get out.
I think that what they are saying is that per the building code, it's not required. And so the state has made that decision that it's acceptable for safety to not have one. So.
But I'm surprised that our EMTs or fire didn't provide that. And I would think if I was living there, just getting anything delivered there would be, you know, getting furniture or appliances or anything would be or even moving in and out would be a nightmare without, you know, an elevator on the 3rd floor. But what do I know?
Yeah, I don't mean to say that fire didn't express that. They do. I think they would prefer that, but they aren't able to require it. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anything else from anybody on this? Okay. Well, if I'm reading this correctly, that's the end of the agenda. So I guess I'll take unless there's anything else, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Sorry.
And,
I'm just on the fence with this whole thing. So sorry. My bad.
Well, luckily you don't have any say.
Well, I do appreciate this conversation. I've made a bunch of notes that I'll include for the ZBA's next discussion on this, which is on May 12th. So yeah, I really appreciate it. This one has been taking up quite a bit of time, so it's a lot to review, a lot to look at. If you all have any other questions or concerns about it, definitely feel free to email me, and I'll try to include your concern with other correspondence with ZBA. So
just with everything else that's going on in town and having that route, I strongly feel we are not built to have that sort of entity coming.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, as a 40B, there's
yeah, I know.
You know, there's limits there, but I mean, it does. I mean, where this is now, presumably by midsummer, this will be permitted by through the ZBA. And we just need to take that into consideration when we look at the Tadmore mixed use or anything else, anything behind Country Cupboard or anything like that. So, unfortunately, a little bit of it is just kind of, now that we've, once we've got this, it kind of, it will change some of the dynamics, but it also, kind of, gives us a stake in the ground to work from on a lot of other things.
Yeah. I understand.
And it means we get rid of some of the other, we won't have as many of the pesky little 40Bs where people are trying to do silly things on small parcels that they shouldn't be. Not that I could name any of those, but yeah. So,
I believe somebody seconded my motion to adjourn.
yes, we just need a roll call.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I did second.
Those in favor, Eric Nayland,
Aye.
Jim Barr,
Aye.
and Mark Sprague.
I
All right. Thank you all
Okay.
so much.
Thank